Want to say good afternoon to most people, I think. Yeah, good afternoon across the United States. It is an odd live stream event. I think the first live stream event that I've done or had to do on a very sad topic of remembering the passing of Ralph Paglia, one of the people that early on in my career was a great mentor. And I know Ralph opened up the doors for many people in the automotive industry. So I just thought that in addition to the quick little post I made earlier today, I wanted to share my thoughts. And I want to encourage others to just chime in the comment section and also share how Ralph impacted your life. When I first started my business in 2005, I was brand new to the automotive industry. Welcome, Jen. And for many of you, Ralph was kind of larger than life. He was early to adopt and to pioneer the internet and lead handling and digital advertising. And in fact, his career spanned working at the retail level. He spent a number of years with ADP and helped build some of their digital products. Thomas, Mark, welcome to the live stream. And Ralph created a number of forums, including the ADM forum, the Automotive Digital Marketing Forum. And I remember early on starting to write and to comment, and Ralph said, "Hey, I really like what you're writing. I like what you're doing," and encouraged me to continue to write. Brian Lundy, great to see you. Mark, great to see you. And Ralph was, a frequent speaker at conferences like Digital Dealer. He had a good relationship with Mike Roscoe, so he was the go-to guy. I know that folks like Jeff Kirshner and Alex Schneider, who run Dealer Refresh, always, considered Ralph one of those early pioneers of creating online communities. And when we were, what would they call, Ning platforms, I guess. Remember, yeah, the Ning platform. Ralph was just very always willing to share his ideas, pick up the phone. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, Pamela. So he had a big heart. And I just wanted to, say that early on when, I was nobody and I started writing about SEO, and I was having a friendly competition with JD Rucker, who could rank #1 for automotive SEO. Ralph was always chuckling and just was a great connector of people. And, he and I also, along with Chris Saracino, formed the AutoCon conference. Some of you may have remembered that. We did that for 2 years. Ralph came to me at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference when we held it in Vegas and said, "Hey, we got to do something different. There's Comic Con and MozCon. And look, Hunter, what a nice word. You and Ralph gave me my first stage appearance at AutoCon. Yeah. Ralph was at half a car. Yeah. Look at that. Brad was saying Ralph was the first to invite me into digital marketing automotive. I think what I'm going to do is I'll highlight some of these comments, because this video will be around for a little while. And there's Brad Paschal with a comment. So Ralph was an encourager, right? So if he saw somebody who was making some progress, was doing something interesting, he was pretty quick to, reach out. Brian Lundy used to work with us over here, and the Rucker War, who's going to be #1 for SEO? That's a lot of fun. Gregory, you knew Ralph from Cybercar, right? Man, that was really a pioneering company. And in fact, the team at Cybercar really influenced the Academy, because they were part of Half a Car. I think Reynolds bought them out, but Giovanni, our friend over at the Academy, was part of that half a car team. But, Ralph came up to me and said, let's do AutoCon. Let's do a new show. So Chris Saraceno, Ralph, and myself, we put it together. It was just a 2-year event, but it was a lot of fun doing something completely different, in Las Vegas for sure. Here's Dane Seville. Okay, yep. Mr. Paglia, he definitely helped. Yeah, here's a nice little So people really enjoyed Ralph's encouragement, right? I think he was an encourager. Here's another comment from Tom Gage. A lot of people knew that if they were to reach dealers, getting on one of his forums or, having him write a blog post. I mean, still to this day, there are only a few places where people have interactive forum. I don't know who might be continuing the many Facebook groups that Ralph created and the ADM, platform. But we had a lot of fun together. In fact, not this year because of COVID, but last year, I guess it would be 2019 DMSC in Napa. I invited Ralph to come to the conference. He is all planned. I bought him his ticket to come out to Napa. And, he was traveling and he came back and his apartment in Vegas was broken into and everything rifled through. And I was like, man, here's a guy who has, had some health issues. He had struggled with some pretty serious events in his life. He had a number of life events. I don't need to go through the details, but, we all have, our highs and our lows. And Ralph had a number of real challenges. And we were hoping, Carrie and I, to have Ralph be part of DMSC and just come out and reconnect and encourage him. And at the last moment, he couldn't make it. He had to take care of the matters at hand. Here's a nice comment from John Sherrill. John, it's great to hear from you for sure. Yeah, if Ralph helped you, or if you have a funny story that you want to share, let's do that. I'm sure he would get a kick that we're using social media to honor him, right? I mean, this is what Ralph did in the most recent years, more on video. But man, Ralph and Jim Ziegler and Jeff Kirshner with the Dealer Refresh Forum, and just very limited few people provided new companies a way to get up in front of different people. Obviously, Jared Hamilton with Driving Sales. And so there's a lot of people who, look back and say, hey, Ralph was the first person really taught me about lead handling, or the first person who really talked about, using social media or video. There's a lot of great anecdotal stories. So if you have a great story on how Ralph touched your life, or why you appreciated him, I'd love you just put in the comments, because the comments will be here. John saying we should set up a scholarship for an attendee and call it the Ralph Paglia Scholarship. Oh man, that's a great idea, John Shaw. You are on the money. And listen, you always have to remember the people who helped you grow your business, and Ralph was one of them. Early on when we were speaking at conferences, Gerald Hamilton and I, we first kind of brainstorm on the Driving Sales event, which turned into a great event. Ralph with AutoCon, I know that Jim Ziegler and Ralph had a good relationship, and Ralph often spoke at his conferences. But then there was, a number of other conferences that have popped up and gone over the years. And if Ralph was able and physically healthy to move around, he would definitely be there. And so, whether it was through ADP, whether it was from, I think it was Courtesy Chevrolet, where he did some early internet stuff. He built also the digital team, I think a response team in association with one of the universities in Arizona. I mean, did a lot of cool things. Richard Bustillo made a nice comment. Thank you, Richard, for that. But this morning I got the news that he had passed. And what we do know is COVID is not something that people with compromised immune systems or poor health really do well with. And in this case, Ralph, last time I spoke with him, was really challenged physically with a number of things. So I understand why this may have impacted him deeply. But I will tell you, other members of our industry, John Purdy, who is a amazing field consultant for CDK, just recently lost his mom, and she didn't really have any underlying health conditions. Gentleman from Live Person during DMSC this year had lost his father. He was healthy. So, it is a difficult time as we put a close to 2020 to say goodbye to Ralph, but we're also saying goodbye to a lot of people in the automotive industry that without this particular virus would have likely still been here with us. Teresa said, yeah, he was always a great speaker. Yeah, he was always humorous, right? I mean, I think that Ralph was, if he wasn't sweating, right, we can laugh a little bit, right? He was a sweater. He was a big man. So when he was going, he'd be sweating if he was presenting. Yes, another really nice comment for Richard. And again, Richard, I think that Ralph would want us to honor him on a platform, right? Social media platform. Here's another great comment. Greg Starkey, 28-year veteran. And Ralph was always laughing and, trying to be a part of the community. One thing that was clear, early days in the automotive internet, Ralph was a connector, and he had a sharp kind of pulse on what was going on the companies. I know for a number of years he also worked at Team Velocity with Sean Wolfington and David Boyce. Obviously, he had a great partnership with Chris Saraceno with AMP. And, I think he always was trying to be a connector, trying to be connected with helping dealers get to the next level. And his tenacity and his ability to communicate was just great to see. And, this year we also had Jim Ziegler move through a very difficult operation, and Jim is back. And it's so great to see him still passionate about dealers. Ralph and Jim, to me, were the two early social media pioneers for digital marketing and dealer advocacy, along with obviously Jeff Kirshner and Alex with Dealer Refresh, Jared Hamilton with Driving Sales, with the dealer-based awards. I mean, there's only a handful of people who have created platforms like Ralph did to spur education, to spur competition, to spur innovation. And, well, it's fitting that we're all gathered together on social media and doing a little love on Ralph. I'm sure that there's going to be many people who just are in a meeting or missing this tribute. So just remember, you can keep on adding comments to the video stream for people to come back with. If you have some great pictures, why don't you add them? Whether it's, remember, we're live streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter through their video platform. So if you have some great comments or photos, it'd be good to see some photos. There's Mike Warwick. Mike, it's great to see your commenting. And I know, again, Ralph did encourage a number of people to move and do some wonderful things for their career. Thanks for commenting. James Fabian, come on. I mean, you and Ralph have been together a real long time. Thank you, James, for chiming in and making a comment. I know Ralph would appreciate that. He had a lot of dear relationships in the ADP, CDK team. You would say that Ralph was not a politically correct person, sometimes rubbed corporate executives the wrong way, because he was pretty laser focused on helping dealers. And sometimes that meant being very truthful and honest. And sometimes when you work for a company that's selling products to dealers, maybe you can't always be that truthful and honest. And so Ralph wasn't too long for corporate life, for sure, knowing that he had such a passion for saying the right thing and doing the right thing. And of course, Ralph wouldn't miss a party in Vegas. Yeah, he was not a sleeper. He would not be someone who would be sleeping. James had a little comment. Yeah, he was definitely a fun guy. So I remember early days when I first went to Vegas for some of the shows. Ralph would be very kind and introduce me to some people or invite me into, one of the cocktail parties. And again, you never know how much impact one person has, but what a positive guy. And I just pray that in his later days that he really understood how much people appreciated him. I also pray that he made his peace with God, as Jim Jensen and I have always been an encouragement to him. Maybe Jim more so, having a right relationship with God. And, very difficult last few years, I think, for Ralph. And I just pray that he took some time to reflect and, trusted God, especially as he fell ill. And I don't know too many details about, this last week or two of Ralph's life. And that isn't important, other than we're here to celebrate his life. And, that's a nice comment. He had time for everyone, even for some of us rookies. Yes, John, he wasn't pretentious. I think most people, especially the CEOs of large companies, because of his forum, because of his communities, because of his writing, because of his videos, because of his presence at conferences, were very much interested in making sure that Ralph was aware of their products. Here's a nice big old comment. And it's great. Look at that. That's a nice comment from Bill Robb. That's one thing that Ralph wasn't shy of. He wasn't shy of, diving into a dealership, looking at their data, trying to solve problems for dealers. And so I think that is another part of his legacy, that the auditing that I do, I think, was something that Ralph said, hey, you just because a dealer is profitable, just because a dealer is selling a lot of cars, don't assume that they have all their infrastructure in place or their digital marketing measurement in place. I remember that Ralph was a student of Google Analytics and is always interested in that and some of the things that I had to say. So I think, John, it would be nice going forward to name a scholarship after Ralph. That's a great idea. And if you think that's a good idea, why don't you just say, yeah, that's a good idea in the comments. So I'll talk to Kerry, and, we do 2 conferences a year, one in the spring in Napa, one in the fall in Palm Beach. It would be nice to remember Ralph, basically because he was a partner in the AutoCon conference and just such a leader. That'd be great. I think he would get a chuckle out of us remembering him and getting someone to a conference to learn, because he believed in conferences. He believed in getting people together. He believed in connecting. He believed in that live conference experience. So let's make sure and I think, John Sherrill, that's a great idea that we'll have an annual scholarship to each of our events, and really, maybe call it, as Carrie just chimed in, the Pioneer Scholarship, maybe the Ralph Paglia Pioneer Scholarship. I like that. Here's a comment from Jen Briggs. And look at that. Just again, there's a lot of people who remember Ralph, maybe sat in one of his workshops, sparked an idea, sparked an interest, maybe encouraged someone to move into a new role. But for sure, he was someone who loved what he did, loved marketing, loved the auto industry. And we need more people like that. I think, and maybe it's just getting old after 15 years, going on 16 years since I first started and connected with Ralph, 15 years ago. Seems like a long time ago. There were some really big personalities in automotive. And today, when you think about who are the personalities in automotive that kind of unite dealers and bring them together, there's really still only a handful. Here's another big comment here from Randy Price. Randy, thanks for sharing a story, and and he will be missed. Thank you, for saying that. Ralph was willing to travel anywhere, to help clients, whether it's U.S. or Canada. And I remember that he never had a scarcity mindset. Do you know what I mean by that? He didn't feel that if he brought someone else to the stage, or if he brought someone else to the community, that it would be less for him. I've tried to emulate that, right? So each year at our conferences, Carrie and I try to help out some new and upcoming companies. I remember, like, Matt Murray, right? He was a larger than life character at dealer.com. He left, started his own company. And as soon as I saw that he started Widewell, I invited him immediately on my podcast, and I said, Matt, you were such a great, encourager and leader at dealer.com. You're starting your own business. Come on my podcast. Let's see if we can stir some interest for your product. Alex Schneider, with Frickin' Tech, and of course their IllumaQuote product is now really ramping up. Again, these are all people who, came out of the industry, started their own company, try to be entrepreneurial. Ralph was the type of person who said, look, I don't have a scarcity mentality. Let me tell dealers about new products. Let the dealers decide if they're good products or not. And we need, more of that. Another great comment. A lot of people just look out for themselves, or, what's in it for me. And, Ralph was never like, hey, Brian, if I feature you on my blog, or if I push up your post and you get some business, send me a little check. Just wasn't like that. And so that is something I really, appreciate. So, using the forums that Ralph was very passionate about, right? So Facebook and the Ning platform and LinkedIn. It's great to just honor him today, just for a few moments. And again, I encourage you that, for the mentors in your life, you never know how long they're going to be around. So take time to thank your mentors. When I think about some of the people that impacted my life, there's a gentleman that was very important in my spiritual development early on in high school. And now he is fighting Alzheimer's. So his ability even to connect and to appreciate a conversation is limited. So I want to encourage everyone, and I think it would honor Ralph as well, to take some time to write a note, a handwritten note, a call, even a video message to the mentors in your life, the people who've invested in you, encourage you, and thank them today, because you never know when people's time is up. Here's another comment from John. How about the idea I had of bringing fixed ops guys into what had been predominantly front-end driven conferences. Absolutely. Today, I think Ted Ings, John, is doing a big and necessary push and bringing fixed ops conversations up to the mainstream. It has always been a challenge to understand why fixed ops directors aren't invited to digital conferences. That's why we did the Fixed Ops Boot Camp this year, and we were going to do a whole tour in 2020, which of course got canceled because of COVID. We'll be picking that up again. But you're right, John. Ralph knew that the service drive can be a big connector to sales opportunities, right? Early days of equity mining. Ralph was in there talking about that. But still today, we have a huge problem that the fixed ops directors, for whatever reason, are kind of kept, at the dealership. And even though my friends that run dealerships say, why don't you bring your fixed ops guy? And they're like, he won't understand all this stuff. And I'm like, well, he better, but that's another, conversation. We don't need to go on a soapbox. Hey, Ted Ings is there. Look at that. Just giving a shout out for the great work that Ted is doing with the Fixed Ops Roundtable and just starting, more higher level conversations about the integration of digital technology, new processes. And here's a nice comment from Jennifer. Jennifer, it's great to see you, by the way. Yeah, that's another nice comment, Jennifer. He always answered people's phone calls. I mean, sometimes you would think like maybe people wouldn't answer phone calls, but he was like, hey, if you call them, he's pretty much going to be calling you back. Yeah, he was a gem, Ted, and I want to wish you continued success and in being one of the pioneers in creating more networking opportunities for dealers, especially in fixed ops. Joe Shoemaker, yes, or Schumacher, excuse me, a genuinely good man. Yeah. And, one of the things, Ralph would never consider himself a perfect person, wouldn't consider himself anything special, but he knew he was there at the beginning, and he loved reminiscing of the old days. If you knew Ralph, he remembered people's names. He remembered companies. I mean, how many companies have come and gone in the last 15 years? I bet some of you could put comments in about all the website platforms, whether it is BZ, or man, there's just so many funny websites, companies. And yeah, James, echoing in on Jennifer's comments. He was always reachable. And yeah, he gave pretty much, right, James, every possible way. He was one of the ones that first started putting all the social media icons on his email signatures. Now, if you want to contact me on Twitter and Ning and Facebook and LinkedIn, and man, there was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 other platforms. Here's my Foursquare ID when Foursquare was a thing. But I do know a lot of industry consultants like Joe Webb and Gary May, myself and Glenn and Mark McGurran and Jerry Tebow and others. Were all given opportunities by Ralph to kind of communicate and kind of get their products and services out. It's been a great time of reflection on all the things that Ralph done. So if there's any other thoughts or comments or stories to share, come on, let's do that. And we'll wrap up just in a fitting way, using the platforms that Ralph loved to communicate to dealers and to industry leaders, saying, thank you for him and his leadership, his openness, his willingness to help, even though he was, in many sense, for many people, bigger than life. When you met him, you would feel like you're a friend immediately. There was no pretense to what was going on, and he always had fun teaching and communicating. I think he was a teacher at heart, right? A teacher at heart, a student of the industry, and a friend to the industry. So want to thank everyone for joining in on the live stream. I saw some nice tributes going out already. Yago had a great post. There's a number of posts. Glenn put out posts. And I think more and more people, as they hear about Ralph's passing, will share a story. And I think that's the best thing to do, since he loved social media and he loved connecting with people. Maybe write a little post or a little story. Oh, look, here's Earl. Yeah, Earl, there we go. Yeah. Half a car, cyber car. Yeah. I wasn't really involved too much around those days, half a car, cyber car. But as I mentioned, our partners in Italy, the Academy, were former half a car team. And that half a car team, after whatever, I guess the buy sells that went through, was picked up by Reynolds in Italy. And then, they moved on and built their own business. So I'm sure that Giovanni was very much aware or, connected with Ralph in those early days. But it's let's see, it's almost midnight over in Italy. So Giovanni and the team from the Academy will learn about this in the morning. But thank you, Earl, for sharing. There's been a lot of changes that have gone on in this industry since the half a car days, when people were introducing leasing for the first time. Think about that, just leasing, crazy. Well, thanks, everyone. And if Ralph was a mentor or a friend to you, well, thanks for joining in on the conversation. Don't forget to upload a photo, make a comment, or make your own post in any way. It would be a nice way to recognize industry leaders, especially the ones that have had such an important impact. So as we close out 2020, another sad note to add to a long list of sad notes of 2020, people who we've lost. But it's my prayer that we'll see Ralph again on the other side when that time comes for each one of us. So I wish you would really make a moment to be thankful for all the things that you have in 2020. It didn't turn out probably the way you would have expected, but having an attitude of gratitude is the best way to stay positive. And I'm looking forward to 2021 and travel once again. Many of you know that it's been an odd year of almost no travel for me. And when I did travel once in November, that's when I got COVID. So, hey, what an odd year for me. Want to wish everyone a happy new year. And any questions, comments you have, please keep it rolling. And of course, my email is just brian@brianpash.com. If you wanted to share a private story, that would be great as well. Thanks, everyone. Have a healthy and happy new year. Appreciate everyone in our industry. And I hope to continue on Ralph's legacy of investing and educating and teaching and providing opportunities, just like Ralph did for me. Have a great day.